And now I have the pleasure to talk to Gary Copelovitz, who is a partner and head of International Healthcare and Life Science Department at the Lipa Meir law firm. Gary, I think that this pandemic and the time that we live in give a lot of attention to the privacy right. We see a lot of dilemmas around privacy, from contact tracing to use of personal data in order to assess personal risk. And we understand that privacy is the forefront. How do you see privacy and the right for privacy at this time?
Well, frankly, I think to a certain extent, privacy still remains something quite elusive. Looking at it from a far or further perspective, it's a fairly multifaceted definition, or actually a concept, which makes it hard to set a definitive legal or legal workable definition. And therefore, the answer is not a simple answer. But obviously, the issue of privacy and perhaps the almost inherent conflict between privacy or the right to privacy and the public good, or the core, let's highlight it as we are in this difficult time, the core right of the public to health and safety as compared to an individual's right to privacy.
So we understand that the person cares about the personal information and personal health information, but at the same time there is a dilemma how to protect the public. What do you see in this time, how we balance, or how do we change the balance between privacy and public health or public safety?
Well, I think perhaps we should first ask whether we should change the balance. But in light of recent alleviations in regulatory regimes and the leading regimes, for instance, in the US and in the UK, it does appear that there is a certain shift in this balance, perhaps in favor of the public, whereby rigid enforcement of legislation and regulation, where that 6 months ago perhaps seemed to strike the right balance, today endangers lives. And therefore, I think the regulator has also come to the conclusion that a certain relaxation of regulatory rules is actually necessary.
Could you give us some examples? Because I know that, for example, HIPAA, which was protecting personal information in the US and primarily how personal information is being shared, is now relaxed through some kind of recent interpretation. How would you look at HIPAA or healthcare providers in current times giving this relaxation?
Well, I actually think that the regulator is making a lot of sense, if I may say so, to the extent that, firstly, there is a relaxation, as we both mentioned. However, it is piecemeal and a careful relaxation in very particular areas, for instance, in telemedicine or telehealth, for instance, in information that's being given to first responders. And there are other examples as well. So we do see a relaxation in the use and a disclosure of protected health information, which previously was more forcefully regulated by HIPAA, for instance.
But would it mean that someone who shared or gave consent previously, that someone would collect their personal health information, now at the risk that this information would be disclosed with third parties, that intentionally they were not supposed to get access to this data?
Well, these are difficult times. And I think the regulators have come to realization with the fact that, yes, due to the emergency and the urgent need to use this data, be it, the obvious, to treat, but there are less obvious, perhaps, purposes, for instance, locating, contacting, screening, flagging people, actually require, or if usage is made in good faith by care providers, that, yes, some information previously that was not open to the public could actually be made open to the public.
Before we wrap up, so we said there is a new balance and certainly relaxation by the regulators. Is there a potential to use technology in order to both protect information, but at the same time to make it accessible and utilized for public health purposes. Do you see the potential in new technologies solving this balance?
I think that seems to be the way ahead. As I said, there is a shift in the balance, but presumably, if there was the technology that could maintain this carefully structured balance, and on the one hand, protecting the privacy, and on the other hand, allowing questioning data and arriving at conclusions that would assist in prediction, treatment, research and development, then yes, I mean, that would be the technology of the future.
Thank you so much. I think in this conference we'll cover some of the technologies that try to strike this new balance of protecting information through encryption and some homomorphic encryption, but at the same time enabling access. Yet the potential is still questionable, but certainly there's a promising path that this conference is trying to unfold. Thank you so much for your important insights on privacy.
Thank you. Thank you, Nimrod.